This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST Robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, well, let's get started. Our topic for tonight is summer camps, and if teams are supporting FLL and FTC, we want to chat about how that works. I will say that Nightcrawler is not going to be able to participate in terms of advice very much in this conversation because we've been contemplating doing a camp for several summers. In fact, we had a camp set up for June of 2020, and everybody can guess how that went. And then we never went back to it. And we've tried to do supporting FTC teams, and we actually did for a long time. We supported an FTC team at our middle school, but that got screwed up because they switched the start times, and now the middle schoolers get out of school before the high schoolers, so our high schoolers couldn't get over there to help out. And we've never done anything with Lego League. So I'd like to open the floor to anybody who has advice to give. If your team is doing summer camps or has done them in the past or is supporting FLL or FTC teams, I'd love to hear how you're doing that, how it's going. Give us kind of a rundown of how that works for your team. Is anyone here doing that?
Yeah, this is Eric with Talon. We actually ran the entire FTC last year. So I wasn't part of that, but we had several mentors that ran it and students. We teamed with our middle school, and I wish the people involved were here today to talk about it. They did full dedication. I'm not sure there was quite a few teams. I think some of the teams actually did quite well, but it was a full-out effort. I'm not sure the FTC teams were supported by anybody else but our team. So they actually ran it. But I know it was a big time chunk for them, obviously. And one of our main mentors is actually going to take on the next year officially run the FTC teams. We're going to actually miss that mentor.
Okay.
All the dedicated time. So it's basically, bottom line is it's a huge time chunk, but our kids were dedicated that they were going to make it happen because there was no other way for FTC to happen in our schools.
So, Eric, it sounds like you have dedicated mentors for your FTC based on the comment you just made.
This is the first time. Our mentor that was doing it was actually our, I'm trying to remember, one of our, she was the fundraising or the one for raising funds and interacting with companies. So that was her main mentorship was, the outreach, I guess is the word. And she says she's not doing that this year because she's taking on FTC instead. And I guess she's expecting, she has similar sponsorship that a lot of our members of our team will volunteer to help out. And probably a lot of it happens in the preseason, at least. So that's how it could actually happen.
So, Eric, can you share with us a little bit about how the students balance their time between helping with FTC and participating on FRC? Do you have meetings that happen at the same time? Do you share a meeting space, or do you alternate days? So they're basically there every day of the week?
I wish, as I said, I was not part of this. They had several days a week that they physically went over to the middle school to run it. So they were running it out of there. They were not running it out of the high school.
Okay.
I could not understand how these kids found the time. Right? That just blows my mind that they could do both. Oh, we actually have somebody who knows more than I do right now. I hope she can add to
Eric.
Lisa.
So I'm Lisa Lamont. I'm on talent as well. Ian, hey, I saw you at. I'm Riley's mom. So, anyways, yeah, I was there for the FTC FLL. We had our giant kickoff just yesterday. We had a big old STEM open house, and that's our big recruiter for both FLL and FTC. And we just we promote that all over the schools, and we get a lot of the principals to help to promote the event. And actually happened to have it across the street from the big community carnival that happens every year. So able to funnel some of the traffic over from the carnival rides over to our STEM open house. And we got a lot of kids signed up for FLL and FTC yesterday. And yeah, we'll start our kickoff. So we have a big kickoff meeting on the first day when the game gets announced. So August 1st for FLL and then September 9th for FTC. And we, I guess we try to promote it as a big, when you start with talent and when you start with the EP robotics, that we go from 4th through 12th grade. So we have mentoring going all the way through. So even just starting as a 4th grader, you get to interact with the high school team, and you can kind of see your progression of where you're going to be because you're interacting with the high schoolers right from the start, and start to get comfortable in some of the, in the robotics room of the high school and stuff right from the start. And we are pushing, like Eric said last year for our FTC program, all of our high schoolers carpooled over to the middle school because we do have the timing. Our middle school ends after our high school. Scott, I heard you had that problem. Mm-hmm. So that worked out well for us. We carpooled over there. We did have limited. We didn't have enough high school support because it is such a giant commitment. And there is such a demand. Like the middle schoolers, we had to cap off enrollment once we had 60 kids sign up, and we're like, we don't have enough support to have more than that. So we had to cut off enrollments at that point. So we had 6 teams, 10 kids per team, and that was giant. That's not a team size I would recommend. And because you just need so much support from the team members. And we were able to, like Eric said, we have a mentor, Ellie, who was fabulous. And she headed up the program, and she drummed up a lot of support from the parents because we realized that the high schoolers couldn't take on 6 teams of 10 kids and be successful. We needed to have more parent involvement. And so she drew in a bunch of parents to come and at least just to keep the space under control. We met 2 times a week with some occasional Saturdays, and we are looking for this next year to move the program over into the high school, to share space with the high school team, so that we can get more high school mentors to just stay after school. The time commitment works pretty well with the FRC season because it's still off season, and it ends up being a lot of just training for the new team members. It was a great way to get our freshmen involved right away because they had just left the FTC programs. They had a lot of knowledge on the FTC, and then they got to be able to pitch in right away with the helping the FTC teams. And then we're familiar with the high school team that they could then in January then make that transition a little easier onto the high school team.
So with your meetings at the high school, the middle school will get out of school, and then they've got a period of time to get to the high school and wait for the high school kids to get out of class? Is that with your start time issues or your end time issues, I guess?
No, it's vice versa. The high school gets out first.
Oh, the high school gets out first. Well, that is better.
But if we can move it over to the high school, like I said, we're still trying to manage that. The middle school will bus the kids over because we have an activities bus that could take the kids straight from the middle school to the high school.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
And does that activity bus then return the kid? Is there like a late bus for the kids to get home, or how does that? Or do the parents have to pick them up?
Yeah, then the parents would have to pick them up around 6:30.
Okay. So how long are your FTC meetings?
2 hours.
Okay. And that was twice a week and sometimes Saturdays.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you were having parents help out 60 kids, when you said that, my eyebrows shot up. You may have noticed, but managing 60 kids, 60 middle schoolers. Can you tell us more about how you got adults and your high school students to what a meeting looked like, how you kept focus or made design decisions or accomplished tasks? How did you do programming with that many kids and probably not a lot of parents that knew how to code? Maybe you got lucky and got a lot of parents that knew how to code.
We got lucky in one way that we had some FTC kids who had been the previous year and who would go from group to group. We kind of identified kids on each some of the returning team members who would be like subject matter experts that we could pass around from team to team and help the kids out. And the parents were more there in a supervisory function. It's really, I mean, I think it's a core part of our team is that it's the students who are doing the teaching. That our mentors are, for the most part, were there just to help if needed, but really to let the kids take the lead.
So then are your FRC meetings later in the evening?
We were having them on the off days. So
Okay.
we were not having them on the same days as the FRC.
I see.
Meetings. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did any of your teams make it to state?
Not our FTC teams, no.
So that's one of the challenges that we've had in the past where we're like, all right, our last meeting will be such and such and our competition's the next day. And then the kids qualify for state and now it goes for another 3 months. And we're trying to figure out how to manage that because that then does have a major conflict with the FRC season.
It definitely does. And we did not come across that. So we didn't have to deal with that. Hopefully we'll come to the point where we do have to deal with it, but we don't have the knowledge base yet. I would say, yes, there were 60 kids, but these were 60 rookie kids.
Sure. The last time we did FTC, our students made it to state, and it was interesting that I think part of it was we got lucky with our matchups and the schedule, but we chose a robot design that could do one thing and do it well instead of trying to do all the things, which is sort of a strategy that, works well for FRC too, if you've got a team that can't meet very often or not a lot of kids. But I think a lot of our middle school students were frustrated when they got to the state tournament and realized that out of all the teams in the state tournament, they were one of only 3 teams at the middle school level. And while that was cool that you were playing against high school, I think they felt pretty discouraged when they went up against the competition that was mostly all high school teams. So it's sort of a blessing, but also sort of a curse too if you make it to state as a middle school team.
Absolutely. It was super discouraging for our kiddos because we did sign up for the early. We ended up with the early slots for the competitions begin in the beginning of November. So not only did they have a shorter season, but the teams that tend to sign up for those early slots are the high school teams who are doing it as like a practice run first. And so we were up against the high schoolers right from the start.
Got it. So I know that there are some discussions going on at our middle school because we did not do FTC this past year. They're trying to figure out how to restart it. And I know that we've got some really smart kids that were a 6th grader on the team, and they didn't get to do it as a 7th grader this past year because Nightcrawler said, look, we just can't make it work well. They're trying to figure out how to restart it. And their program has been an after-school program, an hour and 20 minutes. I think is all it was, because they have an evening bus that will take kids home after school activities. And so trying to meet only 2 days a week, and you really only get about 40 to 50 minutes of productive time out of kids twice a week, it's really hard and really restrictive. And because of the new start times, our high school students could only come for maybe the last 20 minutes. We've kind of said, look, it just isn't going to work for us. So now they're trying to figure out if they can restart it. I just don't see a way to do it as an after school program if they want help from the FRC team. But this is good information. The idea of saying, hey, we need parent involvement and actually getting that's encouraging. I don't know if we'll be able to get it at 3:00 in the afternoon, but maybe.
I think you'd be surprised with a lot of the work schedules since COVID of the parents who are working from home and who have a little bit more flexibility. That was what we found.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's very helpful. Good advice. Can you tell us about FLL?
FLL works different because we do have it all parent coached. We do identify a a high school team member to mentor each team, but that serves more as a consulting role. They aren't required at every team meeting. And we, like I said, we had our kickoff yesterday, so we did a lot of recruiting. And I think we had 3 teams last year, and we'll probably have 3 or 4 teams again this year. I like to tell the parents when we are recruiting for it that because we do 4th through 6th grade, we like to let the kids take the lead as a parent coach to see if you have kids who just want to get together and play with Legos. Maybe they just meet once a week and they're just hanging out and playing Legos and just building some bonds. But then when they get a little bit older, some of our teams meet 2-3 times a week. Depending on parent support, but because it's the parent coached, it's up to them.
So this actually, the FLL discussion, this seems like something that might be more achievable for our team. And we've also been taking the approach of, if we do FLL, maybe we can do it because it would be sort of a coach the coach type scenario, which sounds exactly like what you're talking about, where I don't think kids probably need a lot of help with Legos, or parents may not need a lot of help with building a Lego thing that could actually move a piece or pick up a piece. It's probably the motors and the programming, I'm guessing, which is something that I think our students should easily be able to sort of coach the parents who are coaching the elementary schoolers. So you've done this a couple of times now, is that right, Lisa? Or many times?
Well, we've done it 2 years. This will be is this our 3rd year? I think this is our 3rd year coming in.
And what kind of involvement do you think it takes to get parents up to speed on how Lego robotics works?
Well, again, that can depend from team to team. When I coached when my son was in it, when I coached it, I had no clue what I was getting into, no clue. And we made it to regionals on the power of our project, not the not the actual programming, because I have 0 programming experience. But what was the original question? Sorry.
What's kind of support is typical to? So if a talent is supporting FLL, what does that support look like in terms of helping the parents coach the team? What kind of involvement or skills are really needed?
I'm trying to pull my son in because he was that person on the team, but it'll be a couple of minutes till he's available. Anyways, depending on the team. So Riley's team that he coached was like a 4th grade team. So he had really little kids, and it was he was helping them with building the robot, and he was helping them with learning the coding. And we let the parents decide how much they want to follow the guidance that FLL lays out there in all of the guidebooks, because you do not have to do everything, right? You can still have a team that is successful and has fun without doing everything in the guidebooks. And then vice versa, we had another team that was made up of sixth graders that had been on it a previous year. They had seen how it kind of had gone. They were first-time parent coaches, but they were able to. We had their mentor, their high school team mentor. They ended up meeting like every single day of the week. And so that was a giant commitment. But again, they were following the lead that the kids took. And when the kids demonstrated that they had that kind of commitment and dedication, that was something the parents were able to support.
I might be able to add something. A lot of changes have happened in Eden Prairie over the years. Quite a few years ago, it was fully supported by the Education Center in Eden Prairie. They provided all the facilities and places where support that parents could come in. We had places they had materials, they had Legos, and then that all shut down. So then it had to become parent-led. So it was a big transition. The one thing that is done every year, or had been, is there are educational courses that are held by, I forget who's running the regional in Minnesota, the FLL. It just passes my mind right now. But they would have classes for the parents and coaches on how to program and tips. So that's probably still going on, and one could take a look at it. And that is really helpful to learn. There's actually classes for the coaches and parents on programming.
Yeah, through High Tech Kids.
Oh,
Exactly.
High Tech Kids is doing this. Okay.
So pay very much attention to them, because they are, so even if you don't know anything, starting out, then you could go through several of these classes that are particularly set up and learn how to teach your kids these things. They are not meant for the kids, they are meant for the coaches and parents. Then what the mentors do was more of a coaching the parents on how to run a team. What do they need to know, more than really getting into technical? So I've done it with when my grandson went through from third grade, and now he's going to be a senior in with the high school team right now, so I've been through it with every single year, and that's this transition has been made. So now Lisa probably knows more because she's done it more recently, as to this transition and how parents now have to take on so much more responsibility.
Yeah,
Got it.
we have, so 3926, we're trying to start an FTC team in our middle school with the end goal of having comprehensive first programs through 4th through 12th grade, although it's happening in steps, and we'll see if there's momentum for that. But one of the things that we found is that there are parents who want to do it, but in the past, when we've had robotics offerings for our middle schoolers, what can sometimes happen is the parents, like when their kid is no longer in the program, the parents kind of leave the program, and then there's no parents that replace them. And so we've had struggles with that. And so we're trying to find, I think if we want to get an FTC team started this time, there's a requirement that we have to have like one dedicated person who's going to be sticking with the program who isn't a parent. And really that's what's been holding us back, is trying to find that one person who's willing to do all that administrative work, all of that work leading it. Like we did an FTC interest demo night, robotics night thing, and this Thursday, and it was like 5 to 8 p.m. on one of the last days of school where, like, you know, you'd expect no kids to be interested. But then, like, I think 8% of the middle school, which is, you know, to be fair, fairly low number. We only have like 150 kids in our middle school. But, like, still, that's, you know, relatively speaking, population size to have like 12, 13 kids, you know, being interested in running or, you know, joining a robotics team. And I think we had like 4 parents who said they might be interested in helping, but we're still looking for, you know, someone who's able to be dedicated because there just aren't teachers who have that kind of time at our school.
Tanya, you have something?
I wanted. Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
Sorry.
Eric, why don't you respond to?
Yeah, the thing is to find a parent who's gone through it, who's willing to say, yeah, I'm going to stay with it. It's really finding those single parents, because a lot of our coaches, even nowadays, even in our FRC team, are all parents of previous students who decide to stay after the kid leaves. So that's pretty well the target, is if you can find those parents who are dedicated enough to stay with the team.
But the hard part about that, Eric, is the reason why parents, and I was one of those parents, stay around is because you can't really follow your kid to college and watch them do whatever they're doing in college. Where with middle school, if you're coaching a kid in middle school, there's a good chance they're going to move on to something in high school, and you're going to be following their activity there, either, you know, as a spectator or potentially as a volunteer or a coach. So
yeah.
The FTC has that really unique challenge of your kids left home. They may have even moved out of the state.
Absolutely.
You have nothing left to do. I guess I'll go back and
we
help
did
coach
have
robotics.
for years, one of the parents actually ran the FTC.
Oh,
that
nice.
After their kid left, the kid went on to FRC, but I don't know the full story, but she stuck and became the head of the FTC for a middle school for years.
That's great.
So yeah, I mean that was the trick. As I said, I don't know the story of why she stuck, but that was the secret. Was that after a kid moved on, she stayed and ran the program. So that's the magic, I guess.
Tanya, what did you have to say?
Oh, I was just going to bounce in. We do our FTC teams similar to Talon, but a little bit different in that we invite 7 through 12 to be on our FTC teams, which means we have built-in mentors with our upperclassmen who do both FRC and FTC. And I know 25-26 Crimson does something very similar, but they don't have 7th and 8th graders on theirs. But we meet 2 days a week with FTC, and we have done both league play and qualifier play. And I think we're leaning into qualifier now because league play goes too far into FRC season for us. So just a piece to throw in there. We did go to state 2 years ago. It did get really, really tricky to go to state and try to balance the launch of an FRC season and the wrap up of an FT season at the same time, especially because it ended up being some of our best builders and coders from both teams that were on those teams. So we don't get a lot of parent support. We have a lot of multilingual parents and not very many that are so far engaged. We do have 3 mentors that mentor all of our FTC, FRC teams from September until our season wraps up in FRC.
Can you remind us what team you're with?
Yeah, so we're with 3291. We're the Golden Pirates out of Brooklyn Park. So one of our coaches takes the lead in the fall. That's Mr. Moreno. He does all of the FTC teams, and I help him out. I do mostly paperwork in the fall teams and the FTC. We call it fall. FTC teams are our fall season. I do all the paperwork, the registrations, the grant writing. He takes care of all the management of the teams. And then in the winter, I take care of all of the management of the team for FRC. And then we have a coder that zips in kind of to help out. But we do really find that for FTC, the resources that are out there by FIRST are rock solid. And if we put them in front of our coders and say, follow the directions, they end up with working robots.
So when you say that you have kids that do both, are you doing FRC type stuff in the fall, or is it only FTC in the fall? Are you doing like FRC type of training at all in the fall?
We start doing some training and we start meeting on the off days. So we meet with our FTC teams Tuesday, Thursday, and we meet when we can with our FRC teams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and some random Saturdays. We really don't crank up our FRC team though until November. A lot of our FRC team actually does another fall sport. A lot of our women play tennis, and a lot of our men run cross country. And then we lose some of our FTC to our musical and to our boys swim team. So we have some that do one or the other, and we have about 15 to 20 kids that do both seasons at the high school level. And 7th and 8th graders are bussed over on the activity buses from their middle schools. We have 2 middle schools that come to Park Center. And then they ride the late buses home, which means they get about an hour 45 in the shop on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
What is your mix of middle school and high school kids that are doing FTC? Like what percent?
We're about 50-50. We're about 50-50. We tend to, this year, every year, Robert mixes up the teams a little bit different. This year he had kind of one, we called it a super team, where it's more of our FRC kids that are more experienced, with the caveat that if we let them be together on a team, they have to really support the other teams. And so we had one almost fledgling rookie team, and they were all middle schoolers, and then we had 2 that were kind of a combo. We also make a priority to make one all-female team. We think it gives them courage to come in when they come into our FRC teams, a little bit stronger in their confidence. I don't think they were ever lacking in their capability, but I think they come in more confident. So we run one all-girls team usually.
So my math is right. That's 5 teams?
We ran 4 this year. We ran 4 teams of about 12 kids each. We had about 48 this year total. So if I threw out numbers, it's hard to say, but we were about half and half this year. We let our older kids sign up first, and then we'll recruit harder from the middle schools. And this year we were filled up before we did too much recruiting at the middle school level. We could probably add more teams, and we're in discussions about whether or not we have the capacity to add more teams, both financially because they're expensive to get started, and just the manpower to run them and the space in the shop, because we do run all the teams at the same time in the shop.
What time of day are you guys meeting?
We meet right after school, so our high schoolers get out at 2. They meet 2 to 4:45. Our middle schoolers get out at 2:40. So by the time they get over to us, it's about 3. They meet 3 to 4:45. And then we'll actually stay late if they can get their own transportation or if they walk. So we'll usually stay till about 5:30. But if they have to go at 4:45 and busing is what they need, then they take off at 4:45 and catch the bus.
This is great info. Thank you.
So you mentioned that starting a team is expensive. What's expensive? How much are we talking about?
To get the basic kit, you're talking $1,500 to get the basic build kit and the electronics kit that goes with the FTC team. And then it's $275 per team for first, and then it's like $300-ish for qualifiers for high-tech kids. So you're at about $2,000 a team. We usually get some grants from Boston Sci, but a new team grant is like $1,000. So, and a returning team grant is like $500. So the grants don't quite cover the cost.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Lisa, do you know what the costs are for Lego League? What it costs to get the initial kits and then registration and competition fees?
I know that I can cover, I don't remember the costs off the top of my head, but I know that if I set up a team with 6 team members, I can cover all of our costs. So if we charge $100 a kid.
And how many was that? 6?
6 kids. So I guess it would be about
Okay.
$600. About
$600. And does that include the kit of parts, basically, whatever that's called for Lego League? Or is that just...
it includes the mat and the kit and the registration for just a single tournament.
And then if you're a brand new team, then you would have to buy the Mindstorm
Exactly.
You'd have to buy whatever the Mindstorm kit is that comes with that.
And we have Mindstorm kits because it was run by Community Ed before. They've passed them on to us, so we could do more teams with the Mindstorm. But now they've made. I don't know, Tanya, if you guys have moved on to the Spike robot, but we did invest. We got some grants from the high school team to purchase 3 Spike Prime robots. So our Lego League teams did use the Spike robots last year.
I'm not aware what a Spike robot is. I will have to go look that up.
I think spikes are their newer generation of Lego robots. Might be a controversial opinion, but I think they're a little more annoying to use. But that is also probably just because I'm really familiar with the EV3 system, because that's what was the thing when I was, growing up.
Yeah, I thought I read that they had stopped making the Mindstorm kits.
From what I understand from my high school mentors who mentored the Lego League teams, at first it was just a little, like Ian said, they're used to the Mindstorm EV3, but once they started using the Spike, they definitely preferred the Spike robot kit.
Okay. Is anyone running a Lego team that doesn't compete competitively? They're just doing it for fun. They're going through all the same process, but they're not competing.
3926 is doing something kind of like that, although also somewhat different. So I kind of talked about last week, but we're working with the Tony Sana Foundation, setting up their STEM offerings for underprivileged students. And right now they're doing a different thing through the Minneapolis STEM Partnership, where I think it's called like Lego Sumo Robotics. It's basically, there's a circular arena that has white ring on the outside and then black on the inside. And they have to have 2 robots. Then one robot's just trying to push the other robot out. And so it's a lot more simple when there's like not necessarily the time commitment or dedication of mentors or students to be able to, do a more complicated thing. And so it really, it hits a lot of the basics of the kids have been, building robots. Last week, we taught them about gear ratios and how they could gear down the speed of the robots so they could push the other robots more. And, they're using the sensors to make sure they aren't driving out of the arena, which has been, the kids are learning a lot and they're really getting into the Lego robots. And I know that we're thinking about maybe helping the Sana Foundation convert it into an FLL team this fall, if that's where the students are interested in taking it. But it really just depends on the interest of the students, and because this is the first time they've had students, or I guess not students, but mentors in the capacity that 3926 students are playing of. We're sending 2 or 3 people every week to, help their 10, 12 kids, build their robots and work with the systems rather than them building blindly.
And Ian, what age group is that the sumo robots?
I think it's probably the same age range of middle schoolish, maybe late elementary school.
Okay.
That the students are in.
Well, this is super helpful info. I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions about FTC, FLL, and the logistics of helping support a team? Oh, Jesse posted something. What's this, Jesse?
That's the professional sumo robots. I don't know if you've ever seen.
Oh,
they're crazy. You can't even see them move. They're so fast.
Someone just posted a link in our Slack. Actually, I think I was the one who posted it, now that I'm saying this, but it was about this mouse maze thing. That looked really cool. Let me see if I can find that, and I'll post the link to that as well. Anyone else have any questions about Lego League or FTC? Because I do want to talk. I have some questions about summer camps for moving out of the competitive mood. Nobody else has any questions on Lego League or FRC? I think this is really good. I mean, the thing that I was most interested in is how are you supporting what turns out to be often a lot of kids without burning out your mentors or your other students. And so some of these things on schedules or in how you're mixing your students, that's really helpful information to have. Other things around cost, which we've covered, when you actually, what time of day you guys are meeting. I thought this was all really good information. I really like this idea of mixing the high school and the middle school kids and having an all girls team. That was cool too. One thing that I'll mention, and I heard, and this may have been a rumor and it may not have been the truth, so don't put too much stock on this, but I had heard, I think it was with King Tech, because I know that King Tech does a ton of Lego League and FTC and FRC because they host at the mini regional. They're also doing a Lego League tournament at the same time, and they have their FRC robots and they set up the field and they show how that all works. But I'd heard that their high school students get the choice of sticking with FTC until they're a senior or transitioning over to FRC. And they were finding that they had a lot of kids that were sticking with FTC and it was hurting their FRC team. Again, it may have just been a rumor and it may not have been real, but that's always something too that worries me with the idea of FTC because it starts sooner, taking away from the FRC part of your program. We tried to do an FTC team as a JV squad 7 and 8 years ago. We did it for 2 years. And we finally gave up with it because what we found was that the mentors and our most veteran students were being so distracted by the FTC in the fall that we were failing to really prep and train on FRC stuff in the fall, and it was hurting our competition season for FRC, which is the reason why most people were there. And so we felt like we could only do an FTC team if we could do a better job of isolating FTC from FRC, and really needed to find some more dedicated mentors to work on FTC so that we could spend our fall teaching concepts and important things for FRC that we need come January. So some of this is really interesting. I really appreciate you guys sharing. Does anyone have any final thoughts on FTC and FLL? Is anyone going to actually do this as a result of this call? You're going to start a brand new team?
So, yeah, actually, we're seriously talking about it. I'm Tim with 2530 down in Rochester, and there's been a pretty good FLL presence, and then this gap where there's nothing for middle schoolers. So we've just kind of defaulted to taking 8th graders on the FRC team, which works. It doesn't work well, but it works. So we're actually in conversations with the school and community ed and stuff to start up some teams. So I was very intrigued to hear about costs and whatnot. And our FRC team is, I don't know if it's unique, but we actually extend across all 3 of the Rochester public schools, the high schools. So we meet in one of the middle schools. And so what we're kind of talking about is starting an FTC team there first that would share space with us. And then, if that goes well, then extending and trying to start up the teams at the other spaces. And whether they initially come into our space or find their own space, don't know. But, the hope is that we could build a bridge and, have more of that comprehensive program. So we'll see. It's very early talks. I finally got a contact now, so that's about the stage we're in.
I think that sounds like a good plan, Tim. And honestly, from Nightcrawler's perspective, I think where we're at is if the middle school wants to restart an FTC team, our goal as Nightcrawler would be to help provide resources and expertise, but not to be there all the time, every time. Type of deal. And I think that's would also be our goal with FLL, is that we're looking at potentially buying the kits that people would need and supporting them from a resources point of view. But if they want to do the competitive robotics, then those parent teams would have to figure out how to pull together those funds from other parents or sponsorship or whatever to get it done. And again, more to be a resource to remove some of those barriers to starting a team, but less starting the team ourselves or restarting the team ourselves.
Yeah, and that's why we were thinking of meeting in the same physical space, because we have a good team of mentors, so we can advise really well. Just don't want to go try to own something, already stretched enough, don't need to be stretched more. So. Yeah.
And to your point, space is a big deal. I mean, we now have shared space. The place we're in now, we have what is basically half a basketball gym that used to belong to the gymnastics team. And they got a gigantic, brand new 6,000 square foot facility. And we inherited their old space, which we share with dance and adaptive PE. So we can't leave our stuff out, but when we're there during our time slot, we have the whole space. And it actually makes it possible for us to stick a middle school or elementary school teams on one end of that space during our meeting time if we wanted to do sort of shared time. It never, ever would have been possible for us prior to the last 2 years of us having access to this new space. So yeah, sticking that many people in one place, that's a huge benefit if you've got the space to be able to do it.
Yeah, and we're just getting our space back. When we moved over to the middle school, it was an old metal shop, actually, from when I was a student there like 40 years ago. And it had just kind of become a dumping grounds. And so we renovated it and repurposed tools that were old when I was there, and really made something nice. And then they decided, oh, this is really nice. We should throw a classroom in there too. So we've been sharing for a few years, but they just built a new middle school in Rochester. So there's some decompression going on. And so we're just getting the space back to ourselves. So hopefully that means that we can keep it now. I'm going to put gates in front of the door and see if that keeps the classrooms out. But so wish me luck.
No, we're struggling with space. With our football team wants part of our space for storage. Anyway, Lisa, you raised your hand. Oh, maybe Lisa's muted or lost her. Okay, so Lisa, if you have a thought, hop in anytime here. Anyone doing anything that's not FIRST related for summer camps?
Yeah, for sure. We do a summer camp. This year we're actually going to do 2 sessions. We use Tetrix kits for that, and start pretty young. It's both a fundraiser and a recruitment event. And we're going to new controllers this year that they're a microbit controller that seems to work a lot better. But these kits are something that a group of 2 or 3 students can put together pretty easily, and then we design a game that's loosely based on whatever the FRC competition was for the year for the kids to compete in.
3926's robotics camp. I think I've talked about it before in the roundtable. But we use this hummingbird system mainly because the school used to use them in their curriculum, but then they no longer use them in the curriculum. So they said that we could have them. But in terms of capability, it's a little more than Legos, and it's a little more complicated. Like, students have to wire the robots themselves, and all of that. But then in terms of making it, we like that has a lot more room for creativity. Of the students get to design their entire robot. We've been able to incorporate 3D printed parts where the students have gotten to CAD it and then 3D print it, and then they've been able to incorporate on their robots. The way we've done that is we've had a challenge every day. We have like a challenge on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then for the last day, 2 days, we have just one really big challenge. They have to make like a robot that grabs candy from a mountain of candy in like the center of the field, and they have to like compete against the other robots to grab as much candy as possible. But the kids usually end up designing, CADing, and then 3D printing like their own scoop, and then we'll get them all 3D printed out that night and then bring them in the next day for them to utilize.
And you're doing this in 1 week?
Yep, it's a full day camp. It's targeted towards middle schoolers. The 7th and 8th graders usually get the hang of it really quickly. Our school does 5th through 8th for middle school though, so the 5th and 6th graders usually need a lot more support, at least from our last year of doing it, where we are having about one 3926 member for every 2 students at the camp, especially for the younger kids in the camp. Older kids less so, and we also encourage the older kids to help the younger kids. But these really seem to work with the kind of wide gap where the older kids who, because we have Mindstorms, EV3s being used in our middle school curriculum already, they weren't being, bored out of their minds with doing the same challenges that they were probably doing, and they're getting to be a little more creative in how things are built. Like, I think one of our challenges is they had to build a Rube Goldberg machine using like the sensors and stuff, so it's not necessarily a robot, but it's still, within that realm. Then they connected all of their Rube Goldberg machines up at the end. But like in the realm where it was really a lot of the things were self-paced, and in a way where the students were able to have that wide range of difficulty from, being a very much beginner in that realm to a very much, more able to utilize the system to its full extent. And then we also had like, breaks with some fun active games that were like a little engineering-ish related, but not really. It's mainly usually the main active game we did, at least because the kids liked it, was essentially the floor is lava, where they had to get the entire group from one end of the gym to the other end, and there was just random gym equipment like cones, mats, those little square scooter things. They had to figure out how to get everyone from one end to the other without anyone touching the ground, and that's always fun to watch them puzzle it out and go through the engineering process in a way to do that.
That's cool. I like that idea. That would be a fun icebreaker thing for FRC when you have all your new students join in the fall. I'm gonna write that down. Anyone else doing camps in the summer? By the way, Tim, you had said that it was a fundraiser for you. Ian, are you charging? And can you guys share what you think is a fair price that you charge for robot camps?
So we do charge for our camps, but there's been discussion on our team for how much we charge. I think we ended up we charged more this year than we did last year, because last year was our first year doing the camp. I think we charged somewhere in the realm of $160 for the full week, but also offering scholarships for those who can't afford that price. And because Mount Star Academy offers other summer camps through the school, and comparatively to those ones, it's on the more affordable side, because theirs are usually like $200 for like morning day camps. They're absurdly priced. But I guess most summer camps are right now. And so we fill up really quickly. Like, I think last year we didn't advertise our camp until like 2 weeks before, and we ended up getting 10 kids, and there's, just a lot of high demand. And so I think we try to keep the price lower, but also at the same time, making it so we're still making a good amount because we are usually we have like 10, 12 kids who are basically working an entire week of a, fairly intensive job, which is, it's pretty taxing having done it last year. I was pretty wiped by day 4. I was like, there's 2 more days to this.
Yes. We have, so Ryan Swanson, who many of you know, he's a coach for Sabre. He actually has a business that puts on summer camps, and we've had lots of Nightcrawler students.
This summer.
You did? You're going to, or you did last time?
I'm going to.
We're going to. We've had several Nightcrawler kids who work for Ryan over the summer, and yeah, they all share the same thing of it's exhausting to battle kids for all day for a week. And I get it. I totally get it. They're full of energy and they want to do fun stuff, and trying to keep order can be tricky. All right. Did Lisa come back? Lisa, you had raised your hand earlier.
Lisa, I know Talon is still planning, unless there was a snafu with community ed, to run our grade school half-day, 4-day summer school, and just coming up with different STEM projects. And then there's always some robot that a couple of our team members are designing this year, and it's in early stages. Let's just say might be a 3-4 degree of freedom robotic arm that they want to allow the kids to program and build and program. And the affordability, I think it might be Arduino based, and the only reason we can afford it is I think we have a whole bunch from previous camps that we have still stacks of. Otherwise, we would. I think they charge about $100 to a kid, and if we had the real cost is more than that. But as I said, I think we're lucky because we have a bunch of old Arduinos sitting in boxes that we can.
So Eric, does that mean that you're sending the kids home with the Arduino and the ARM?
In the end, that's the idea. We've always done that. Previous robots were mobile robots using, sensors and, an ultrasonic or infrared. And in the end, and it usually becomes part of every day. At the end of the last hour or so, they're literally building the robots. And then in the end, they get to work with the kids to program them and go home with them. Hopefully that's...
We do one thing up in our conference, or our hub, or whatever you want to call it, has a programming camp every summer, and that's kind of FRC focused, but we use the Romies a lot, and we partner with our local university, and so it's a 2-day camp, and the kids stay over. But on that affordability, accessibility point, we charge $40, and they get 2 lunches, they get to stay in the dorms, and they get a T-shirt out of the deal. So,
wow.
I mean, we're not we're losing money as an organization on it, but we feel it's important that we get some of these new kids involved, and it's a good way to get just a taste of what programming is. And those Romies are nice, and you can, a household could buy those, and the kids could practice with those easily at home because they're cheap and they're a good facsimile.
So we've traditionally charged $200, which is in line with a lot of other camps in the area, and that's for 5 half-day sessions. And so we're meeting in the mornings, and the kids do get a T-shirt, and typically we spend a little bit on candy and that sort of thing as well. So there's a little bit of cost. It's not too bad, but we've felt that was pretty reasonable. What we're doing this year is one of our sessions is going to be targeted toward younger kids and the other toward slightly older kids. They're still all below FRC age. But the older kids will be 200 and then the younger will be 150 and then still get the t-shirt and stuff. But just figuring that we would like to encourage the younger kids to come back each year and stuff. So, but with that price, we sell out every year. So
And Tim, are they students taking any tech, like are they taking Arduino or anything home with them, or is that just the experience? So
yeah, it's just the experience. Yeah.
Good.
So, and we typically pick up I think this last year we got 3 or 4 8th graders that came from that. We've had that's been pretty consistent. Of course, we didn't meet in 20 or 21, but all the other years I've been on a team, we've had students that were just chomping at the bit to be FRC age so that they could join the team, just because they had a lot of fun. So great recruiting as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I have another question for the group. Has anyone seen, or has anyone's team put together sort of STEM in a box type of kits that you can send out to groups? So an example might be a STEM box to send out to Girl Scout troop who wants to do their robotics badge. We've done a fair bit with the Girl Scouts in our area to help those scouts earn their robotics badge. We also have a student who's interested. Their grandmother works on a reservation up north, and Indigenous women don't make up much of the STEM field, and where she's really hoping that we can make a change for that, where unfortunately it's not really close. So we're trying to figure out what can we do that's like STEM in a box that will help encourage students that to learn about robotics or just engineering or science in general. Does anyone have any experience with putting together kits that you can ship out to group or anything like that, or have any ideas?
So we haven't done anything with shipping things out. We've gone and worked directly with like the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, both on STEM type badges. We've been looking at, we were actually planning on doing back in probably 20 or 21, doing like a STEM based merit badge fair down in our area. I had been the chairing the advancement committee for Boy Scouts for the district for the last decade or so. I just stepped down from that. So, and it was also a merit badge counselor for all the STEM badges. But our plan was to teach robotics and engineering and programming. I think there was one other one that we were going to put together, and we had some additional resources. So we were, it was well planned out, and then we had to cancel it. So haven't done it. But it's something that we've kind of had on the radar, something to pick up. If you do robotics, robotics does have a requirement that for Boy Scouts that you have to attend a robotics event. So, if you are going to do something like that, the fall scrimmages are great for that. Or, if you can get them to come to, a big event, that's better. If you get students to come to the big events, then you got them. They're going to join your team.
Yeah, I think we had 4 Girl Scout troops come to our Week 0 event. So in the morning, we held all of the requirements of the badge. And then, of course, they got to attend the Week 0 the rest of the day and watch the competition. It was really great. I think we're going to try to expand that next year for our Week 0 competition. But I agree, like it's so exciting for them to come and see all these high school students and all the robots. It's very exciting. Anything else? Anything anybody wants to talk about for summer events? anybody do anything with drones or model rockets or anything like that? I'm kind of itching to do a model rocket thing, but the logistics of trying to pull that off, I don't know where to go to shoot model rockets so that you're not in violation of airspace and all that business.
We have one of our mentors that is building a L2 rocket. So the big ones that you need to get licensed for start with L1 and then L2, and those you have a big range that you're doing them from. But he's been pulling in a bunch of the students from the team to help with 3D printing parts for this thing. You know, because it's like 48 inches tall. It's a big rocket.
Yeah, I was thinking more like the Estes rockets.
Yeah, baby rockets. Yeah.
But even with us being in the city, and honestly, I'm on the glide path for a small airport. So our high school is right down the flight path that you would go to land at the county airport. So
yeah,
we'll see. But anyway, anything else anybody wants to add to this entire conversation we've had tonight? Otherwise, I have a question for the group. Going once, going twice. All right. How much longer do we want to do this? So it's going to be summer. People are out of classes. Is this going to be our last Sunday night call, or what are we going to talk about going forward?
I think maybe doing these, but maybe like on a less frequent basis over the summer might be good, like every other week or something, which we've kind of been already doing just because of, Mother's Day and Memorial Day. I think there's still a few more, discussions I think worth having. Like I know we wanted to do one on equity last week, I think, right?
Okay, we can put that on the list. Any other topic ideas people want to chat about?
So are you suggesting stopping for the summer and then picking up again in the fall? Or are you talking about stopping period?
No, I wasn't thinking permanent. I was thinking that stopping until the fall. But we don't have to stop. I mean, we can. Ian makes a good point that equity has come up in the past, and we really haven't had to talk about equity yet. So I can tell you that that's been a focus for Nightcrawler for a while, and I think we'd have a lot to participate there with. Other topics that we want to put on the list. I'm okay with switching to an every other week schedule as well, if that makes more sense. I think that when we start getting to the point where we only have 10 people that join our call, what I worry about is the viability of just keeping it going through the summer.
Yeah, I know, like for me, just even, as the year's kind of wrapping up, and I'm not even in education, but as the year just kind of wraps up and it gets busier this time of year, I find myself, just kind of saying, I got stuff tonight and I'm going to watch it on YouTube. And I do watch it, pretty regularly. And so I value that it's out on YouTube, but I think that's better if it's an actual discussion, especially if you're going to talk about, diversity and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that might be a conversation to better have, like when we have a bigger group in the fall. Might be interesting if, like, over the summer we do like almost. I know we kind of did one 2 weeks ago when Isaac gave his great demo on the beginning on shape for FRC. And so, like, I would probably be confident in leading a demo on like basic, tank drive coding or basic swerve drive coding or like basic electrical systems for FRC. And then we could maybe create like almost a resource of a bunch of, basic trainings for, people to have, or even just like, at the beginning of the season, show the coders the replay of this one video that shows them how to code a tank drive, and then they're able to follow along with it, because I know that right now the video resources are a bit out of date. Like, I know the one that I originally used to teach myself back in 2021 was a 2018 one that I was updating a lot of stuff to get it to work with 2021 code. And if I gave that video to any new coders this year, it wouldn't even be worthwhile, just because, the updates change a few things every year, and after a while it changes enough where it's,
Yeah,
and
that's
be made.
the point you bring up is a really good point, especially for coding, is that when you've got somebody who's brand new to code, getting stuck can be a killer, right? If they can't figure out how to get themselves unstuck, or you don't have somebody there to help them get unstuck, then that can be the end of their interest in trying to learn how to code. So having good up-to-date tutorials and complete tutorials that don't make any assumptions that someone understands something and just gloss over it is so important. We've been talking about, it's come up on the team end that, and I think Lexi has brought this up, but Lexi's out of town tonight, but we really should put a web page on our website that has all the best tips and tricks for each video, and then links off to the video for all of these, the roundtable calls that we've been having, because you guys have been sharing some great tips and great advice, and we could have someone glean the best tips and advice from that, post a summary of here's some links off to some of these other things, and then link off to the video. It wouldn't be a bad idea for us if there's thinking as a community of, hey, I want to create a presentation on basic tank drive programming, and then you could host it on your website, we could host it on our website, put the link off to YouTube. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, and then
one of the things I like to bring up is that if we do keep meeting, it's important to have, as interesting as it is, we need to have larger student participation, because I think that's what the roundtable is about. And right now I appreciate Ian being here and such, but I think we're now having more of meetings of mentors is
Right.
not really the focus. I think we have to take a look at making sure that we're interested in that students participate.
Well, here's where I'm at right now. I'm going to be out of the country for 2 of the weekends, the last weekend of June and the first weekend of July. And my preference right now is I think we should take a summer break, and then we can come back in the fall. But maybe what I should do is to send out a survey to the mailing list and get feedback from people. And basically part of that feedback is we need a commitment. Can you make Sunday nights or not? Because if we can't get more than, tonight we had a really great conversation with only 7 to 10 people. But to Eric's point, it's mostly mentors. We need more students, and the conversation quality can dwindle if it's, if we're not getting a larger audience. Does that sound good? Should I send out a survey? I'll send out a survey to the mailing list, and we'll see what people think about continuing for the summer, and see if we can get an idea of what participation might look like. I do want to hang on to this equity topic, regardless if we meet again or not. I think this has sort of become the cornerstone of a lot of the decisions that we make at Nightcrawler. Whether it's about a fundraiser, is this fundraiser going to be equitable for all the families who might participate, or activity fees, travel. There's just so many things that we always look at through the lens of equity now. So we have a lot that we could share about that, and I think it's a good topic. I do like the idea of having more sessions for training as well, but I think we need more students on the call to do that. All right, I'll send out that survey. I'll get it out early-ish this week. Let's plan on for sure not meeting next week, and the decision of doing the every other week schedule, we'll decide that based on the results of that survey. Okay. All right.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
everyone. I appreciate you hopping on every Sunday. It was great to see everyone again.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.